Yo, what it is, you know what it is. It's your man, King Muze. Welcome to First Impression Nacogdoches, the podcast that's all about showcasing the vibrant local businesses, unique brands, and hidden gems right here in our incredible town.
Yeah.
I'm here to help students, parents, and visitors discover what truly makes Nacogdoches special. I'm your host, King Muze, and today we're diving into another local favorite that you need to know about. We have a very special guest who's truly making a real impact in our local scenes, and we're excited to learn more about Casey Muze, the cognitive healing therapist. But before we jump into that chat, let's learn a little bit more about him. Introducing Casey Muze.
Yo, what's up?
What's going on, big dog? Welcome,
Man.
welcome.
Yes.
Disclaimer, before we jump into everything, Casey and I have a really, really good relationship with what I think, right? Now, our dynamic, sometimes we might speak in codes, sometimes we might go off the rails, but we promise y'all will learn what you need to learn about Casey.
Yeah.
Right? All right, perfect. I'm comfortable. You ready? Before we jump into everything, though, my icebreaker question for you.
Sure.
4th of July is coming up, right? I need to know, what are you going to do? What is the best thing you've ever done? Or what is a tradition you usually do?
So traditions look different now because I've been married for a little over a year and like 2 months or so. So my traditions usually start with hanging out with my wife and my father-in-law, because my father-in-law resides with us, or we reside with my father-in-law.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about that dynamic is we have this what's called a BMW dynamic, which, if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of prison or military terminology for a safe jury that is non-biased. So we have me as a black person, my wife as a Mexican, and my father-in-law as a white guy.
What?
And it's so great because
Yeah.
we just go places and hang out. So we do normal stuff that people do, but in East Texas, that just looks crazy and it feels crazy.
Yeah.
So we just love going places. And
Are
it feels
people always
crazy.
in y'all's business? Want to know what y'all talking about?
Sometimes. Yeah. So I would say, so for my birthday last year, my father-in-law collects vintage cars, and he has an old Ford Model A. He had an old Ford Model A and a Model T. He sold one of them recently. But we all piled into the Model T and drove to a Model T hangout club that he was hanging out with. It's a bunch of old white men.
Yeah.
And so we just pull up.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. It's great.
Hey, if that's what 4th of July entails, I think you're going to have a great time.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yes, sir.
It's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, let's go ahead and jump into the interview. Can you introduce yourself and what you do here and around Nacogdoches?
Yeah. So the intro said what? Cognitive healing therapist, right? So essentially what that is I do music therapy. I specifically do music therapy to help those with cognitive barriers like dementia, as well as neurodivergency. So any of my autism, Down syndrome, ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, right? All of those people that exist in the world, and including my honorable mention neurodivergency, which is oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD, right? So I also help those with trauma, unlock trauma, process trauma. I talk about a bunch of science of what part of the body trauma is stored, how it's processed out, the bandwidth of how much trauma you can withstand and your discomfort level, all of those things. I specifically do those things with cognitive therapy.
I need a pen and a piece of paper to write your new intro. Because you gave me a better description.
Sure.
And
what
it was
description
like,
did I give you?
No, I'm just saying, like, from what I just heard, what I knew versus what you just told me, do a lot more.
I do a lot more.
And help a lot more people.
I'd help a lot
than
more
not.
people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just read the words, cognitive mind, healing. Hey, people go through depression, anxiety, the low stuff. No, you're talking about people were clinic. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Nah, it's crazy. You didn't know I did all
no. No, I did the social media. No, wow.
No, it's crazy. It really is. Yeah, man. And so I do all of that really through a a science called the bilateral science or the
Mhm.
bilateral approach, which is connecting both sides of your brain, the left side and the right side at the same time for what's called executive functioning, which
Yes.
is emotional, cognitive fluidity and thought and emotion and all of the stationary emotions, all the I's and O's in the math and science, but then also all of the colory, fluttery, emotional parts of your brain can
Mhm.
be connected together for executive functioning, central nervous system regulation, emotional regulation. There's a whole lot of things there. So I do a lot of rhythmic sequencing and patterning for all of my people, whether you are neurodivergent, whether you have dementia, even for all my trauma people.
Yes,
So yeah,
sir. Okay.
yeah,
I can't wait to find out a little bit more about that. But we're gonna take a step back into things I do understand,
yeah, yeah,
like family and upbringing.
no doubt.
So go ahead and let us know where you grow up, and then
Mm,
like what was family dynamic like. Did your parents do the exact same thing, or
no.
you just started fresh?
No. So I grew up in Longview, Texas. I spent a lot of time here in Nacogdoches, Texas. So I provide a lot of services here in Nacogdoches, Texas,
Hmm.
although not currently residing here. I do a lot of in-person classes and in-person private clients here,
Hmm.
as well as other places. I do a lot of Zoom clients
Yeah.
and sessions as well. I lived here for 6 years in Nacogdoches, Texas. I now reside right outside of Tyler, Texas, in a wonderful place called Flint, Texas. Maybe it's wonderful. I don't really know. I don't do much there. I go to Tyler. I mean,
That's like people who live in Nacogdoches and go to Lufkin
uh,
and to shop.
I don't really know because Lufkin is Lufkin,
Yeah.
and neither one of them I think are better than the other one. I mean,
That's okay. Okay.
so yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really know.
All right. Now, who gave you this inspiration around this stuff, or how many siblings did you have? Like a little bit more.
Yeah. I have one biological sibling. Her name is Kelly.
Mm,
She's my younger sister. She's like 4.5 years younger than me.
yeah.
So I am 38. So do the math, right? I have a few non-biological siblings that
Yeah.
have just been with me s- tooth and nail for large, important seasons of my life. A few of them live right here in Nacogdoches, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them I hope you're gonna have on your show that you haven't had before. I don't think his name is Enrique Mongia.
Enrique,
Yeah,
he already put you in the interview. Now
yeah,
you got to be here next. Come
yeah.
on.
Well, I think he's in El Salvador right now
Oh,
because
okay.
that's where he's from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, we're gonna find a way.
yeah. Let's
It's
make
it's,
it
it's
work.
2025.
Let's make it work.
Yes, sir.
He'll be back. He
Yes,
lives
sir.
here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
just
He's
in
traveling.
yeah, he's just because
Yeah.
he's from there. He visits there every summer. But
That's
he'll be back.
amazing.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
wonderful. We'll give it. So, one more question before we jump into the therapist part.
Sure.
What is your interest and hobbies outside of the work?
Oh, family, really. More so than anything, it's family. I love watches, actually, is one of my passions.
Mm.
But it's really not just watches, it's really the concept of time and
Okay.
processing time. So I love just the nuances and just building
Wow.
all of the movements that exist within watches and just I might end up starting a watch company at some point in time. I don't really know. It may be in the cards for real.
Hey,
I
I
just
I support it.
I'm that watch family. So my current daily pattern is to work for like 3 hours,
Hmm.
spend 30 minutes watching watch videos on YouTube. Work for another 3 hours, spend 30 minutes watching watch videos on YouTube.
Like this
Work
is
for
not
another three
TikTok. This
hours.
is
No,
how
it's
watches
like
are.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's like movements
dude.
and sapphire crystals
Yeah.
and like double dome sapphire box
What am what
sapphire
am I what am
crystals
I
bezels and
missing in this fascination?
I think it's a grown man thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a pre-old man thing. Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, 38 is knocking on the door, you know what I'm saying? OG status.
Yeah.
Unk status, as the young whippersnappers say. Quick story, me and my wife have. So there's this habit of us going to bed at night and watching TV together,
Mhm.
like an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours before we go
You
to
and your wife,
TV.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Until one of us gets sleepy. And if she gets sleepy first, I'll look at her, she'll start yawning and be like, it's time to go to bed. I'm like, no, we're the young whippersnappers.
Okay.
This is the young whippersnappers club. And if I get tired, she'll say the same thing. It's
Yeah.
just like really stupid, corny, fun
Yeah.
marriage stuff, man. It's
Yeah.
great. Like I have the habit of doing this really weird impression of what I think a manatee does and what it sounds
Mm.
like. And it sounds, you want me to do it, the sound?
Go ahead.
It sounds like this. This is gonna be great. She goes, and then I go like swimming and stuff like that. It's wow. And it's gotten so us that my father-in-law goes on vacation
No.
and buys me manatee things, memorabilia, because it's
That's wonderful.
it's cool. Dude.
Okay, so I
It's
can see how family is a great passion.
Yeah, that's cool,
dope.
man. It's cool.
That's
It
dope.
really is. Yeah.
So, all right, let's jump into what you do. Can you go ahead and kind of explain how you got started and what is kind of the mission?
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you some bullet points because to tell you how I got started, I feel like that's my whole life story,
Okay.
and we don't really have time for that.
Right.
So bullet point number one is the fact that I've been playing drums since the age of 2.
Mhm.
And then transition into being a musician, specifically a percussionist, and then professional percussionist, right?
Mhm.
Bullet point number 2, I studied music production, sound engineering, and music theory for a huge portion of my life.
Yeah.
Bullet point number 3, I spent 10 years, a decade doing co-occurring disorder work, which means that all of my clients were both. They had a substance use disorder and they had a mental health disorder at the
Right.
same time. So they may have had like amphetamine use disorder
Man.
and then at the same time schizophrenia, right?
Mhm.
Or they'll have alcohol use disorder and then bipolar, right? And so yeah. And then that plus that plus that equals me.
Right. Okay.
There you go.
I like that breakdown. Thank you for finding the most do you feel like you have to explain it a lot that you finally found these terms? Is that where it came from?
I get asked that a lot, and to simply answer the question the most accurate way that I can say, I need to quit because I'm gonna get wordy. But to answer the question clearly, I started giving that math problem with the bullet points.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That plus that plus that equals me. Those were the bullet points, and so now you get right
Yeah.
some stuff in
Being smart
between.
hurts.
Yeah.
Being smart.
Musa, yes.
All right, let's jump into that. Challenges, right?
Yes.
Running a business, doing therapy, all of these practices, it's
Mhm.
not easy. It's not even easy getting started. It's not easy to continue. And from just the understanding that explaining to people what you even do
Sure.
is
Sure.
difficult. What are the challenges you face?
Explaining to people what I do. Having conversations over and over again and getting people to understand. Now, that being the premise and a foundation of the real difficult part is finding people that I serve appropriately.
Okay.
Right. And then also, so what that really means is making sure that I am taking care of every client that I have specifically the way that they need to be taken care of, making sure that all their needs are met, right? That I understand and are providing good work. So I'm going to break that down just a bit,
Hit
right?
me.
Because specifically when we talk about the neurodivergencies, right, they have a tendency to stem and be sensorily overwhelmed, right, by all of the outside things that are going on, even if it's light, even if it is specific sounds, even if it's low sounds, because a lot of times, depending on the specific type of autism, they may not like the low sounds of a hand drum. So I may have to switch to a hong drum, which is the steel drum that I use in therapy that is more melodic, right? So then I have to cater to the long-term progress of that client somehow with the steel drum versus, right? And it just gets really individualized in every single one, right? When I'm dealing with ADD or ADHD, their attention span is not there, right? So then I have to work with pockets of time and understand how my attention needs to shift from that client to the parent, that client to the parent, to the
Yeah.
parent, to the grandparent, right? Because the really cool thing about most of the provisions and the programs that I have is the education that I give the family so that they
There we
understand
go.
what I did so that way they get as much autonomy and freedom to provide the sessions in the program
Teach a man to
when I'm
fish.
done.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm done, because it means absolutely nothing for the 6-month program for me to show up and then leave. And when it's done, you say, that was cool. He showed up and played drums with my kid. I know it was helpful, but I don't know what to do with that, right? So my absolute goal is to give the family education so that they continue to provide without me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It didn't sound like a challenge. Well, it sounds like a challenge, but it sounds like he knows his challenge. So
Yeah.
I love that. Now,
Yeah,
what
man.
is the future? What is, what are some achievements, some goals?
Ooh.
What's the vision?
Ooh. So I have managed to create a foothold in the state of Colorado
Mm-hmm.
and do a whole lot of public speaking seminars there, talking about trauma regulation and emotional regulation,
Yeah.
and same concept, right? The bilateral concept, right? I've also managed to do the same thing in the ArkLaTex. So for those of you who don't know, the ArkLaTex, that is Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Texas,
There we
in
go.
that 4 corners, right? So outside of Texas, those are the states that I serve in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have managed to have conversations to bring this awareness, the education, all of the intelligence that exists there in states that are broader than that,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah. So next is to bring it nationally, right?
Okay.
I'm currently having conversations in at least about 3 or 4 other states about bringing my public speaking talk, The Pulse of Healing, which is again talking about trauma, where it's stored in the body,
Mm-hmm.
how it's processed out, how do you identify ways of healing individually
There we
to
go.
do those things, right? Yeah. Let me do this because the thing is going crazy. Yeah, he taught me that
Yeah.
mid conversation. We'll be doing that so that your left brain and right brain can get into work.
Amazing. Great job.
Yeah.
Great job. The segue, everything. You handled that great.
Yeah.
I can't take that right now. Okay, so you've pretty much broke down to me what you do, and you broke to them what you do. So now y'all don't have to make it challenging to get started with him, right?
No, just go to CaseyMuze.com.
There you go. Now I want you to explain to the visitors, right? People who
Sure.
just go through Nacogdoches, go through East Texas, things like that.
Yeah.
Why would they engage with Casey? Why would they how would they find themselves saying, you know what? After I watched that interview, I don't mind checking out Casey. Like how
Sure.
can they find themselves getting involved as a visitor?
Sure. So, first thing is simply enough, just go to my Facebook page and follow my page on Facebook.
Mhm.
You'll be able to get all the content. Even if you are hesitant about it and just want to feel me out and see what I'm about, social media is the best way to do that. Then you can go to my website and fill out my services there. Also, if you want to have a conversation with me and just have a free consultation and just get to know my services and see if they work for you
Yes.
and your child or your family, those things are always on the table, right? And so I always welcome those things, right? So, yeah, if you are in Nacogdoches, if you are in Tyler, if you are in Flint, if you were in Dubai,
Mhm.
maybe not Dubai because they don't speak the language. Well, they do. But yeah, whomever.
Right.
But we're
not gonna
talking
cut
about
off with the
Nacogdoches,
Dubai.
right?
Yeah.
We're talking about Nacogdoches. But yes, if you're new to Nacogdoches and you need to know, if you have a child with ADD or ADHD or autism, I desire to speak to you.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, next up, my favorite audience, my students.
Sure.
Where do they find any part into this? How it doesn't even sound like
Sure.
but how can we bring them in to say, you know what, this is something to either look into,
Mhm.
go into,
Yeah.
or find themselves connecting with you?
Yeah. Do you know how many students that are in college struggle with ADD and ADHD?
Every
There you go. There you go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there, man. ADD and ADHD. Yeah.
But what does it look like for a student to work with you? You know what I'm saying? What
Yeah.
what are they getting into?
So you're getting into understanding what it looks like to manage your pace of what you work so that you can be effective in getting daily tasks done without being distracted or being okay with being distracted a little bit, but then allowing yourself to get recentered in your daily grind, your structure, whatever it may be. Also teaching yourself to increase your attention focus level, right?
Mm.
So if you are only able to keep your focus for about 20 minutes, then we can increase what that looks like, right? We can also increase, or we can also decrease, allow you to identify the things that you need to decrease for distractions, right? Because
Right.
a lot of times you sit at home, and maybe home is not the best place for you to work,
Yep.
right? Maybe you need to leave home and go to a coffee shop. Maybe you need to leave home and go to the library, which is Moose's favorite place on SFA campus.
Yeah.
Just saying. The library is fly. I've been there. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta find your own place. For me,
Yeah.
it's enough busyness, but enough get your work done
Yeah.
all at the same time. So
Yeah.
why not be in the library?
You can work. You can set out and work for an hour, take a 10-minute break.
Mm-hmm.
Work for another hour, take a 10-minute break.
Go outside.
Yeah.
Walk around, things like
Yeah.
that. So
In your
understand
break.
that.
And then go back to work. Have a conversation with somebody, but limit the conversation to about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Cut them off. Go back to work.
Okay.
They got cubicles.
Fourth floor. I
Yeah.
don't take that. I'm a social person, but
I mean,
if you need cubicles, we got them.
If you need cubicles, they got cubicles.
Study rooms, all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, in different sizes too, I
Yeah.
think, right? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
last people, most important people the best, the people who are gonna watch this the most.
Sure.
The people who are on Facebook.
Okay.
Parents.
Yeah.
You have all type of parents, from college parents to young parents. All these parents.
Yep.
Why? How do they get involved with Casey? Let
Yeah.
the parents know. What's most important.
Yeah. So I have a really cool interactive group called I actually don't remember what it's called because I have multiple groups on
Right.
Facebook.
It's okay.
But all the groups on Facebook that are really specific for individual things. I have an autistic group on Facebook. I have a mom's group on Facebook where it talks about dealing with autistic stemming and autistic sensory issues and things like that. Get tapped in, man.
Mhm.
Get tapped in. That is free services that I give you in information and wisdom. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, because one thing y'all gotta understand is there's people who need assistance, more resources, right? That's the type of assistance I'm
Yeah.
talking about. And when you have somebody like Casey who comes out and say, these are the people I want to work with, because like my mom, she worked special ed all
Mhm.
through middle school, things like that. And at first, when I was younger, I didn't want to go to her classroom,
Yeah.
but as I got older, the respect, the understanding, the being in the environment helped me handle and be around people that I can
Yeah.
bro, they're normal as well. They just have whatever differences they have that
Yeah.
you don't have.
Gives you definitely a different perspective.
Yes,
for
sir.
sure. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
No
Anything
doubt.
go ahead.
No doubt. That's
Yes,
it.
sir.
That's all I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you want to shout out? What are ways that they can connect with you, and what do you have coming up that people can?
Ooh, nothing to do with therapy is what I have coming up. It's an adolescent male mentorship conference in Tyler, Texas called Crowned and Called.
Mm-hmm.
Ages 13 to 22. Get at me if you CaseyMuze.com, or just text the word mentor to 936-234-9470, and I'll set you up with a conversation to explore whether it's appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll get you tapped in. But yeah,
Fellas, a mentor. How many of us grow up with those? So he's literally giving you the easy end.
yeah,
Take the help while you got it, bro.
yeah.
Come on. Now, sometime this is gonna air out in August and September and later on in the rest of the year.
Sure.
What are some things to kind of find Casey, engaged in, find him in the community or ways to stay engaged with you?
Yeah, man. Um, so I will be running Zoom groups for mentorship as well throughout the year. The conference is not the only thing for you to do to get mentorship with me.
Hmm.
I run those individual sessions throughout the whole entire year, right?
Yes, sir.
Get tapped in
Okay.
because that's really cool. So the reason why it is ages 13 to 22 because those are all the transitional periods for young men that we don't get it. We don't get it. There are tons of places for the opposite sex to have that correspondence with older women, right?
Hmm.
There's not that much of that for men.
Hey.
So we're creating that space for you to be loved, to be cared after, to be told that mental health is something that you can explore in a healthy manner and be advocated for, not just at the day of the conference, but year round. I'm here for you.
All
Let's
right.
get it going.
Y'all hear it. Y'all hear it. So I'm plugging y'all in now. Anything else you would like to shout out before we go?
Oh, don't let me doing shout outs. I'm gonna shout out people all day. I'm gonna get to name
All right,
dropping.
you get a minute starting now.
Tim Bryant, Enrique Mongia, Casey Sizemore, Grant Menzies, CC Khan, dang, I don't know. King Musa. King
Shout out his
Musa.
family.
Yeah.
Shout out his
Yeah.
father. Shout out
Yeah.
his wife.
Yeah, Kimberly Muse. Yeah, that's her name. That's my wife's
Yeah,
name.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. A massive thank you to our amazing guest, Casey Muze, the amazing cognitive healing therapist. Now I completely know what that means.
Yeah.
For sharing your amazing story and giving us such a great insight of what you do around Nacogdoches. Remember, our town is full of unique, incredible local businesses and hidden gems, and First Impression Nacogdoches is here to help you find them.
Yeah.
Subscribe, stay connected with us on social media, and join our community. Until next time, this is King Musa signing off, and go explore Nacogdoches, please.
Pew, 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 pew.